The rain drummed against the windows as I stared at my phone, the email notification lighting up the screen. It was from Marcus, my business partner of 5 years. The subject line read simply, "Company update, urgent." I opened it, expecting news about our latest client. Instead, my stomach dropped. "I've decided to take sole ownership of Horizon Digital. I've bought out your share and transferred all assets to my new company. The office locks have been changed. Your personal items will be sent to your home address. Consider this the formal end of our partnership." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The casual cruelty of it, delivered through a cold email on a Friday night, was almost laughable. My hand tightened around the phone as the words sank in. My name is Olivia, and until that email, I thought I'd built a successful marketing agency with someone I could trust. Marcus and I had started Horizon Digital from scratch, working from coffee shops in my apartment before finally affording our downtown office. While things hadn't always been perfect, I believed in our partnership. I scrolled through the email again, my initial shock giving way to something else. Clarity. Marcus had always been impulsive, making decisions without consulting me, then charming his way out of the consequences. But this was different. This wasn't just a decision. It was a betrayal. I set my phone down and took a deep breath. The apartment was quiet except for the rain and the distant hum of the city below. I needed to think. What Marcus didn't know, what he had apparently never bothered to verify, was that our company's intellectual property rights were structured very differently than he thought. As the creative director, I had insisted early on that all our proprietary design systems and client management software be registered under my name, not the company's. Marcus had agreed without much thought, focusing instead on the financial side of the business. That single decision was about to change everything. I picked up my phone and called Maya, my friend who also happened to be one of the best IP lawyers in the city. He did what? Maya's voice rose in disbelief after I explained the situation. "Bought me out without my knowledge or consent," I replied, a strange calm settling over me. Or at least he thinks he did. "That's not how any of this works," Maya said, incredulous. "You can't just buy out someone without their signature. And even if he somehow transferred company funds, that's misappropriation." "And the IP?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "If it's registered to you personally, as you said, then he has no claim to it whatsoever. The company may have been using it with your permission, but he can't transfer what he doesn't own." A plan began forming in my mind. "Can you draft something formal outlining this? I have a feeling I'll need it." "Consider it done," Maya replied. "And Olivia? Don't let him see you sweat. He's counting on you to fall apart." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table, the rain still pattering against the windows. I should have been devastated. 5 years of my life had gone into building Horizon, but instead of despair, I felt a growing determination. Marcus thought he could simply push me aside and take everything we'd built together. He was wrong. I opened my laptop and began documenting everything: our partnership agreement, the IP registrations, our client contracts. By midnight, I had compiled a complete record of our business relationship, with every instance where Marcus had overstepped or cut corners highlighted in bright yellow. The pattern was clear. For years, he'd been gradually positioning himself to take over, making small moves that I'd overlooked or forgiven. This wasn't an impulsive decision. It was the culmination of a long-term strategy. I closed my laptop and stared out at the city lights. Tomorrow would be a different day entirely. The next morning, I dressed carefully, a crisp black suit that I usually reserved for major client presentations. I wanted to look polished, professional, and completely in control when I confronted Marcus. I tucked Maya's formal letter into my briefcase, along with copies of all the relevant documentation. When I arrived at our office building, the receptionist in the lobby looked surprised to see me. "Ms. Chen," I thought, well, Mr. Davis said you wouldn't be coming in anymore. I smiled. Did he? How interesting. I'm just here to collect a few things. Upstairs, I used the master key I'd kept on my keychain, the one Marcus apparently didn't know about, to open the office door. The familiar space felt different somehow, as if Marcus's betrayal had altered the very air inside. He was sitting at his desk, head bent over his computer. When the door opened, he looked up, his expression shifting from confusion to annoyance. Olivia. I thought my email was clear. You don't work here anymore. I set my briefcase down on the conference table, maintaining eye contact. That's not how partnerships work, Marcus. You can't simply decide to buy me out without my consent. He leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. Actually, I can. The funds have been transferred to your account already. It's done. He gestured around the office. All of this, the company, the clients, the systems, it's mine now. I've already filed the paperwork. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. I see. And what about the proprietary software? The design systems? The client management tools? Did you file paperwork for those too? His smirk faltered slightly. Those belong to Horizon. They always have. No, I said, opening my briefcase and pulling out the IP registration documents. They belong to me, personally. Check the paperwork. I slid the documents across the table. Marcus picked them up, his confidence visibly wavering as he scanned the pages. This doesn't change anything, he said, though his voice lacked conviction. The company has been using these tools for years. They're effectively company property. By license, I corrected him. A license I can revoke at any time, like now, for instance. His face flushed. You wouldn't. You'd be destroying everything we built. No, Marcus. You did that yesterday when you sent that email. I took a step closer. But unlike you, I'm offering a choice. We can do this the easy way or the hard way. Meaning what? Meaning you can tear up whatever buyout you fabricated, restore my access to all accounts, and we can discuss a fair separation. Or, I paused, letting the moment stretch. I can revoke the IP licenses, file an injunction preventing you from using any of the tools that keep this company running, and watch as you try to service our clients with nothing but spreadsheets and good intentions. For the first time since I'd entered the office, Marcus looked uncertain. You're bluffing. I smiled and pulled out my phone. Maya, can you send over the cease and desist letter and injunction paperwork we discussed? Yes. Right away, please. I ended the call and looked back at Marcus. Still think I'm bluffing? He stood up abruptly, knocking his chair backward. This is ridiculous. You can't just come in here making threats. I've already told the clients about the new arrangement. Have you? All of them? I asked, maintaining my composure. Including Westfield Media? Because I had coffee with Sarah Westfield this morning. She was very interested to hear about your arrangement, especially since her contract specifically names me as her creative lead. Marcus's face paled. Westfield Media was our biggest client, accounting for nearly 30% of our revenue. Losing them would be devastating. You went behind my back to our clients? He demanded, his voice rising. That's an interesting accusation. Coming from you, I replied evenly. But no, I simply reached out to a friend for coffee, just like you reached out to a lawyer to draft fraudulent buyout papers. The office fell silent. Outside, the phones rang and colleagues chatted, unaware of the power struggle taking place behind our door. Marcus stared at me, calculation replacing anger in his eyes. What do you want? He finally asked. A fair dissolution of our partnership. A proper valuation of the company by an independent third party. And an acknowledgement to our team and clients that this separation is mutual and above board. I crossed my arms. You have until the end of the day to decide. After that, the IP licenses are revoked, and the injunction goes into effect. I gathered my documents, tucked them back into my briefcase, and turned to leave. As I reached the door, Marcus called after me. "You won't win this, Olivia. You might have these registrations, but I have the relationships. The clients trust me." I paused, hand on the doorknob. "Do they? Then you have nothing to worry about." By afternoon, my phone was buzzing nonstop with messages from our employees, all confused about what was happening. I responded to each one, calmly, explaining that there was a misunderstanding about the company's future that was being resolved. I didn't throw Marcus under the bus, not yet, but I made it clear that Horizon Digital was not changing hands without my involvement. Maya called around 3:00. "He's consulted 3 different lawyers," she said, a note of amusement in her voice. "Apparently none of them gave him the answer he wanted." Which was that he could somehow claim ownership of your IP because the company had been using it. "But the registrations are bulletproof, Olivia. He has no case." I smiled, looking out my apartment window at the city skyline. "So what happens next?" "Well, his lawyer just called me. They want to arrange a meeting to discuss terms. Sounds like someone's ready to negotiate." The meeting was set for the following morning at a neutral location, a conference room at Maya's law firm. I arrived, early, setting up my materials methodically, the company financials, the IP documentation, and a fair proposal for dissolving our partnership. Marcus arrived 10 minutes late, his lawyer in tow. The contrast between us was striking. While I was calm and prepared, Marcus looked like he hadn't slept, his usually impeccable appearance rumpled and tired. "Let's get this over with," he said, taking a seat across from me. His lawyer, a stern-looking woman in a gray suit, opened her briefcase. "My client is willing to discuss a revised arrangement that acknowledges Ms. Chen's contributions to Horizon Digital." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Contributions? Ms. Chen is an equal partner and owns the intellectual property that makes the company viable. We're not here to discuss contributions. We're here to discuss fair compensation for her share of the business, or alternatively, Mr. Davis's exit from the partnership." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Exit? This is my company too. I've put everything into it." "As have I said quietly. "The difference is, I never tried to push you out and steal what we built together." The negotiations were tense, stretching over several hours. Marcus fought for control at every turn, but his position was fundamentally weak. Without access to the proprietary tools I owned, Horizon would lose its competitive edge. Without me, personally, several major clients would likely walk away. By early afternoon, we had a framework, a clean break, with the company being formally dissolved and its assets divided. Marcus would retain the office space and certain client relationships. I would take other clients. And, of course, my IP. We would both be free to start new ventures with no non-compete restrictions. As the lawyers finalized the details, Marcus and I found ourselves alone in the hallway during a break. "Why did you do it?" I asked, the question that had been burning in my mind since his email. "Why not just talk to me about wanting to go separate ways?" He looked away, his shoulders slumping slightly. "I didn't think you'd let go. You're too attached to what we built. So you decided to take it all instead? Cut me out completely?" "It was a business decision," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I shook my head. "No, it was a betrayal. And the sad thing is, if you'd been honest from the start, we might have found a solution that worked for both of us." He didn't respond, and we stood in uncomfortable silence until the lawyers called us back in. The final agreement was signed by late afternoon. As I watched Marcus initial the last page, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. 5 years of partnership ended with a signature and a formal handshake. Outside the law firm, the city bustled with activity, oblivious to the dissolution that had just taken place. Maya squeezed my arm supportively. "You did well in there. Not many people could keep their cool the way you did." I smiled, feeling the tension of the past days begin to lift. I learned something important about myself through all this. I'm stronger than I thought. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I secured a small, temporary office space and brought on 2 key employees who had chosen to leave Horizon rather than stay with Marcus. Together, we began building something new from the foundation of my IP and client relationships. I named the new agency Phoenix Digital, a nod to rising from the ashes of my former partnership. The irony wasn't lost on me. 3 months later, I found myself standing in my new permanent office space, watching as the team installed the Phoenix Digital sign on the wall. The space was smaller than what we'd had at Horizon, but it was filled with energy and purpose. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya. "Have you seen the news about Horizon?" I hadn't. A quick search revealed that Marcus had been struggling. Without the proprietary tools and with several client departures, the company was floundering. There were rumors of a potential sale at a fraction of what it had once been worth. For a moment, I felt a twinge of satisfaction, but it quickly faded. This wasn't about winning or seeing Marcus fail. It was about standing up for myself and creating something new from what had tried to destroy me. That evening, I hosted a small gathering in the new office for my team. As I looked around at the faces of people who had chosen to follow me into this new venture, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. "I want to thank all of you for taking this leap with me," I said, raising my glass. 3 months ago, I thought, I'd lost everything. But sometimes, what looks like an ending is really a beginning in disguise. The team applauded, and conversation resumed around me. I stepped away to the window, looking out at the city lights twinkling in the darkness. Marcus's betrayal had been painful, but it had also been clarifying. It had shown me not just who I couldn't trust, but who I could. It had revealed strengths I didn't know I possessed. 6 months to the day after receiving Marcus's email, I received another electronic message. This one from a business publication wanting to profile Phoenix Digital as a rising star in the industry. The reporter mentioned that our proprietary client management system was generating buzz for its innovation. I smiled as I typed my response, agreeing to the interview. The system they were so impressed by? It was a completely redesigned version of what I'd created at Horizon. Better, more intuitive, and wholly mine. As I hit send, I realized that my office no longer felt new or temporary. It felt like home, like the place I was always meant to be. The betrayal that had once left me reeling had become the catalyst for something better than what I had lost. I had not just reclaimed my professional life, I had reimagined it. And that, perhaps, was the most satisfying victory of all.